everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
If you've ever wanted to shift this fear and negativity right on its head, then do we have the Go to the Light show for you. Today we'll talk about finding meaning, finding light, pumping up the love, finding purpose, and turning up the inner flame even when things try to go dim. That plus we'll talk about YouTube marathons, donating and volunteerism, coming together, definite chief aims, Viktor Frankl, family flight, empty nester no more, inconclusive flu, food stocks, risk profile, as above, so below, grocery store ambassadors, positivity boot camps, falling microphones, a broken turtle leg, not a real one, thankfully, and what in the world a flying Sir Meowsers has to do with anything. So, welcome back to the show, CJ. So glad you brought your laugh today. Are you ready to
I
shine?
am ready to shine. Humor's been really important. I didn't realize a couple people have said I've been watching funny shows, and
Yes.
I watched the oh God, I can't remember Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I was just laughing my head off yesterday, and it felt so good to laugh. I have to say,
We
the best
need that right
remedy.
now. We need as much levity as we can bring to the situation. So maybe
Yeah.
today's show should be go to the light and go to the laughter. We had a boot camp last week where Jessica has these lobster claws.
Hmm.
Most people call them fingers, but with her it's lobster claws. And ever since NDE number, I think it was two, I have kind of a something cross between a Buddha laugh and Eddie Murphy, also known as a rutting elk that only comes out of me when she starts jabbing me in the side. And she did it on air during our class.
I
And
love
I
that.
fell apart. And I was like basically crying in tears. And it is what everybody needed. So, all right, we're going to talk about, we've got another boot camp on positivity coming up. I want to talk all about that. Before we do that and get into things, what in the world has been going on in your life? And as a good coach, I always like to start when I'm coaching with somebody. CJ, give me some positives.
Okay, I'll start off with the positives. I'm actually going to be teaching a class for a group of women locally,
Yep.
and then I'm going to teach this class later about fear and management of fear. And so I took a couple of other classes this weekend about those two things, about what are people just generally feeling and how can I help. And one of the best things I got, and one of the themes of this show is making meaning, out of
Yeah.
this whole scenario. And it's this idea of as above, so below. So, if we are all one, we're connected to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth has been taking a lot from us. And we need to give her a break.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is there's so many wonderful outcomes as hard as it's been. What's so interesting about this is that we all have our own individual problems or things that we run around worrying about. And this is a universal, worldwide problem in which we all have a shared sense of humanity in this whole experience. That's a wonderful thing. I think the other wonderful thing, in a sense, that we're all sharing in this common experience and we get it. At some level, we all understand and give each other a break because we're there too. There's something about the oneness of this all
Yeah.
that is interesting. I've also noticed that people have been connecting more with their families to make sure that they're okay. And so there are these I don't know what this is going to be like. We're going to have 100-person Skype call, which is going to be
Wow. Awesome.
crazy with our
Are you doing that
family.
on Skype or Zoom?
Probably Zoom. I mean, because there's probably 100 people in my husband's family, so we're all
Yep.
going to go in and say hello, which we haven't done. It's a virtual family reunion, which we haven't done in a really, really long time. So I think it's bringing people together. I've heard a lot of people spending more time with their families and having a time to pause. I had one client who said, in the personality model, she's an Enneagram 6, and the emotion that they have the hardest dealing with is fear. And when I talked to her a week ago, she was just like making lists and thinking about different scenarios and running through different things. And I talked to her yesterday saying, hey, let's talk about your fears. And she's like, you know what happened is I'm empty. I realize that I can't, this is outside of my control and I can't do anything about it. And she moved to a place of just emptiness, which I have not seen with her after working for her for 3 months. She's always kind of, and she just, and I said, okay. And there was a little bit of trepidation in that emptiness. And I said, oh my gosh, Buddhists spend lifetimes trying to reach that emptiness. The fact that you're
Right.
there is like, hallelujah. Um, so I think that Mother Nature needs, so as above, as below, Mother Nature needed a rest, a pause, and it's kind of like I just need everyone to stop polluting, stop moving around, stop running around disconnected, and I think the outcome is kind of an unexpected outcome because with every challenge comes something that's change that may be positive or negative. It's up to you to decide, but I think that yeah, what I've noticed is that I feel like nature, us reconvening with nature, reconvening with each other, tuning into our inner landscape, those are all wonderful outcomes of this stay at home scenario. And the fact that nature has just a breather for maybe a month to kind of
Or
reach
longer.
harmony.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. I've been looking at it and I've been describing it on air and with coaching clients as Mother Earth hitting the red button. There's an assembly line or a factory going along, and she's hitting the full stop. And I've been sharing this with people, and that this pause, how beautiful it can be. And please, everybody, I'm not making light of current situations at all, but there are many levels to what's going on. And one
Hmm.
is Mother Earth hitting full stop. Jessica and I went out of town. We drove a few hours away on Saturday before YouTube Live. We had to make it back for our YouTube Live, and we went out to hike. We're coming back, and there's a car accident up ahead, and there's a traffic jam. And we're stopped. We actually made friends with the gentleman in the dump truck next to us. It was really, really cool. And right in front of me, up and to the right, was a giant truck saying red button moving. The
Hmm.
red button was full stop. I've been talking to people about Mother Earth hitting the red button, which means stop. And here in front of me is a red button truck. I'm like, you can't make this up. I'm like, good stuff, universe. I get it. We had on, in fact, he'll air later today on YouTube, Irvin Laszlo. He's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize twice. He's brilliant in quantum physics, in philosophy, and he's won many world peace prizes. And he talks about this being a bifurcation of humanity right now, an opportunity for humanity to go one of two ways. One, we can just hit the gas again after this and go right off the cliff. And that was a good experiment, humanity. Because what he says is there's a concept called supercoherence, that we all, sort of like heart coherence and all of us coming together as one. If anything is not in coherence in the universe, is vibrating out of frequency with everything else, it either gets drawn back into frequency or goes away,
Hmm.
because the universe is a harmonic place, going from a chaotic place to more and more complexity. If this was just a science based world, meaning before quantum physics, a Newtonian science based world, we would go to entropy, we would go to more and more chaos. But that's the opposite of what we have. We have more and more harmony. And so he talks about a bifurcation. We are a chaotic element, cog in the machine right now.
Yes.
We can either drive off the cliff, or we can come together as the one that we are. That's the oneness that you're talking about. We can get back into harmony with ourselves and with nature, which is our true essence. And we will actually have, he calls super coherence, an energetic state change. And that's
Mm.
what we're really on the crux of right now. If we are the dominoes, if you're the domino, CJ, if I'm the domino, if everybody listening, I call a light warrior, is the domino, and we choose to, as I'm saying, go to the light, we will pop up in frequency instead of dropping off the cliff. We may have a lot of things fall apart around us that no longer serve us, or that we're going, I can't even believe this right now. But we are going to pop up to that state of super coherence. And I see that as more possible for humanity now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I kept on thinking about you this week because I remember at the beginning of the year you had an astrologer come.
We
And
just had him back on
okay,
this
and
week
what did the
because of that.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what he said and what's happening astrologically during this time because to me that was almost like a foreshadowing of this. Not I wouldn't have expected it to look this way, but it definitely is a foreshadowing.
It was Dr. Michael Lennox. He has a PhD. He's an amazing astrologist, and he had come on in December. I think I interviewed him. December 12th was the exact day, and he said that things for January and then for March. So January you had Chinese the flu in China, not Chinese flu. Let's stop that, everybody.
Right.
But he is when it was cranking up in Asia. And then in March, it started cranking up here. And he was calling it a year of reckoning, of everything that's under the carpet coming back up. And he nailed it almost to the day, everything that was going on. It was creepy wild. So I had him on this week. And
Wait,
I guess
tell me back to like he nailed what to the day. Just I'm just
the
in awe.
spikes of shift, the
Mm,
shift that has happened of the original influx of the coronavirus, COVID-19, and then of it hitting even stateside because he drew a connection between the planets now in March, April are identical to the planetary alignment of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776.
wow.
And he said, when you have a planetary return, like a Saturn return, everything is put in your face. Everything gets to be looked at that hasn't been dealt with, and it gets to be cleaned or cleared up.
Mm,
And he said, what is the biggie in this country is, he didn't use, I don't want to use the term bipolar. I'm trying to come up with exactly what it is. It is the schism. You know, before we had slaves and free people, or we had Hamilton and Jefferson. And now we have either the Democrats or the Republicans or the this race and then that race. But that is what has haunted the US is the us versus them.
mm,
Whatever you label yourself or label the them as, we're all one, guys. I love you, I love you, I love you. We are all one. But that gets to be faced. And
mm,
it is really being put right in our face right now as this comes around. And
mm-hmm.
he had said that whether the old institutions, the old guard, will stay or not will depend on what's coming in this March, April timeframe.
Mm.
It was wild.
And so is that what he had said in the most recent interview that you
That's
had?
what he said in the older interview.
Okay, and what did he
He
say in the
had
most recent?
predicted
God,
this.
that's incredible.
He said, and this is where he's going to lose me as far as the astrology because it's over my head.
Yeah.
He talked about nodes of the moon
Hmm.
and different angles and of Saturn coming in right now and hitting this node. I get maybe it's the node of Earth at a very disjointed, irregular, or I'll call it aggressive angle, not pretty angle.
Right.
And chaos is arising from that. There will be another meeting of I think it's Saturn or it might be Pluto. Forgive me, everybody. You'll have to listen to the Dr. Michael Lennox interview in April. That will be a little bit gentler. But he said all I can see
So that's
is
another course correction in April.
another course correction in April, two more course corrections, June or July, and then one in the fall, and then a biggie in 2023 as we wrap up a full cycle that's been going on right now. And so
2023, Michael. That's a long time.
it is a long time.
Yeah.
And he said, though, you can't tell from astrology whether something is good or bad because he says all of the butting of heads of light versus darkness, good versus evil, whatever you want to define it, is the balance of the universe. There is no, those are just labels. of the whole system working in order. However, just like Irvin Laszlo was talking about, this is helping bring us into a higher state of order. It is our choice, though, after this March, April time period on how we want to see things go. And we're seeing that right now, whether states are locking down, not locking down, countries are locking down, countries are not. It is our choice. Free will exists. How do we want to go through this?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was pointing out all of the future dates that are coming up, but he can't tell. He can tell there's a lot of energy coming. And he talks about with astrology is all about amplification. What you have becomes more of. So if we want to choose more bipartisanism and bickering, not just in this country, but around the world, we can certainly have more of it at this time. If we want to realize that we are all one and come together and find meaning and find purpose and really have a state change, like I still picture the people hanging out the windows in Italy singing, we can have that too. It is our choice. But what astrology will do is amplify whatever you're bringing to the table.
I like that. So think about what you want to amplify and bring that on, which is part of what you're doing with your this week's 7-day workshop, right? I assume
So yeah, it's going to be the next one. We just finished up
positivity boot camps. Is that what it
yeah,
is?
Monday through Friday. It's going to be next week, March 30th through April 3rd at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, and you can catch it worldwide, and you can catch the replay too. Class is almost free. It's a $7 class.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to be working on how we go to the light, how we come together as community, what we can do on an individual basis at home to rewire the subconscious for a more positive place while people are trying to put a curtain over our heads and make things dark. And we're doing the most important thing to me is group meditation each and every day, like a Lynn McTaggart, Power of Eight. We're going to have hundreds of us come together, if not more with replays, and all set intention. Like we did a YouTube live last night, and we all set intention of sending healing golden light to everybody in the ERs worldwide into their lungs to push away the fluid and to clear their lungs.
Sweet.
Statistically speaking, it literally makes a difference.
Yeah. Wow, that's very cool. So that's actually happening starting. Tell me the dates again.
So Monday, March 30th to Friday, April 3rd. So this will go live on audio 2 or 3 days before it. And it is an opportunity for us to come together. And that's what we're talking about is meaning. Viktor Frankl, in Auschwitz, World War II, in a concentration camp, said those who lived versus those that didn't. The ones who lived were the ones who could ascribe meaning to their situation. I'm doing it for my family. I'm doing it so that I can tell a story when I come out. I'm doing it for whatever reason. And they made it through. If we ascribe meaning, we're going to help people find the meaning on that Monday through Friday. If we can find meaning, then we don't have to stay in this dark place of quote unquote social isolation, which you're showing from your family is anything but the case. But we can make that energetic state change individually and together. Because now is the time. What is meaning right now? Meaning may be going on the inside, having your own inner cave and finding a way to raise your vibration. It may be volunteering like you've never done before. It may be like we've had people contacting us and saying, how can we donate to get more people into your classes at this time? Or it may be that once you get sick, if you get sick and you come through the other side, you're now Superman, Superwoman, and you can be out everywhere helping everybody who needs it. Or maybe even if we're able to do it in this country, which they're doing in other countries, donate your blood so that the immunity can be passed on to somebody else. You can find incredible meaning from this time. So if you're going, I'm lost, I don't know where to turn, I don't know what to do, well, universe just gave it to you with a golden platter.
And tell me about donating and volunteerism. Tell me a little bit about what that has been for you.
So for us, it means that, and we are going to slowly throttle back. The last few weeks, we have been on YouTube daily to crank up the love and light in the world every single day, which has been easier on me than the Pookie.
What does that mean?
She runs the chat room. She runs the behind the scenes, the graphic design, the everything. and
Oh,
we get her a break. For myself, I get nourishment for giving it out there. And so I have been on fire and more on fire and wanting to give. I'm watching my energy levels. So important. And I'll get to the broken turtle leg in a minute, which is
right,
universe telling me to slow down.
right.
That's been my way of giving. We've had other people volunteering to work on the show right now.
Oh, good.
That has been so incredibly awesome. Then we've had people contact and say, can I make a small donation so that you can have scholarships for people to attend your classes right now? Which has been so cool. And then we've been seeing people come together in the community, people calling everybody up saying, are you doing all right? Do you need anything? Do you need deliveries to be made?
Hmm.
The amount of coming together that we are seeing is phenomenal. You don't usually really see that on any of your news networks. It's there if you dig enough, but they're looking for if it bleeds, it leads.
Right.
But people are coming together, and it's really been phenomenal to see.
Yeah. It's I this week two different things. One is I we were all so we flew. So the last time we spoke, I was on the
You
East
were hiding
Coast.
in a
I
bathroom
was hiding in
on
the
the East
bathroom
Coast.
on the East Coast, and I think I had shifted my plane tickets four different times. We're going to Durham to clear out my son's stuff. We're not going. We're going. We're going. We're doing this. We're doing it. Like the tickets were shifted, and thank goodness for Alaska Airlines for being so generous with their change policies. So we flew back. My son had a cough on the plane, so we had called where he goes to school and said, "Well, what my son is coughing, so we don't really want to get on the plane unless it's okay." And they said, well, if he has a fever, if there's no fever, then you're fine. Get on the plane and go home. So we got on the plane and went home. And then I proceeded, so that was last Sunday. I proceeded on Monday to get really sick, like flu like symptoms. I had a fever. I had a very, very slight kind of tinge of a cough. I was like sleeping like I'd sleep 12 hours. I'd wake up, be so tired, I'd go to sleep for another 3 hours, wake up for a couple of hours, and then go to sleep like at 10 at night. So that happened for 3 days straight. And my son then progressively got worse, started getting a cold. And then finally on Friday, we thought we were going to call the doctors because, like, who knows? If we have coronavirus, we need to know. So that, because we got on a plane, all these different things. So we called up the doctor. My son went to a facility, a drive-in facility here in Seattle, where he drove into a little garage. A person fully like in a suited up
Spacesuit.
with also like a big plastic shield came over and took something that was like this big, probably about what 10 inches of Q-tip, kind of 10-inch kind of Q-tip like thing, and went from inside of his nose into what felt like his brain. He said, took a
Oh God.
swab. Then we got the results. This was last Friday. Got the results on Monday, and it said you're testing negative for COVID, and we are like, oh, thank God. And then, but there was a part of me that's like, I just want to get it and get it over with so that I can get out and help people. Like maybe I can go help at the nursing facilities or like help and volunteer in whatever way that I can if I have this. But if I don't have this, and I have to like stay at home and, shelter in place. So, so we got the results and it said you're negative for COVID virus, but that doesn't mean that you didn't have COVID virus. And we're like, okay.
Wow, that's
Thanks.
clear as mud.
It's like, okay. I mean, maybe I think, and my guess is how I'm reading that is like you may have had it at one point, but you don't have it, and they're testing for it now.
Yeah.
So don't give yourself this false, negative. Anyways, so that was our inconclusive flu, and the thing that has become more clear to me, and I love in terms of finding meaning out of this, is that we walk around thinking that we have control over life, that things will be permanent, and and
I,
and that
I-
if
I'm,
we
I'm not wanting to chuckle, but if ever we were finding out that we have no
yeah,
control,
like we have a plan, we have a plan to create best outcomes, we know what to
boom.
do. It's like I read a report and I know I can get a test and have conclusive results. I just read that report and I was like, what the heck? And then just laughing like, what kind of test is this? We're in the world of the unknown. We don't know what they knew when we flew out on Friday that it had no fever. I then flew back and talked to a friend of mine who was a pediatrician the next day, and she said, "Oh, actually, some people don't have a fever." I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, we just exposed the whole plane." It's all these kinds of things that you're in the world of you don't know. You don't know. When will we know? Is it going to be April 11th? Don't know. Well, will they get a vaccine? When will it be? Don't know. Well, when will we know? I don't know. Like it's just, and I think, and it's funny because the woman who said like that she just went into the null set kind of became empty. She said, I just realized we don't have control over everything. I'm like, well, the reality is we never did have control over anything. It's just our ego that believed that we actually had control and could plan and organize, and actually just dropping. This is, in some ways, if you want to get your spiritual PhD, it's like, and master the law of impermanence and being at peace with impermanence. This is one of the best exercises. This is like, bench pressing 100 pounds every day. Like, I don't
I
know.
was
I don't
talking about
know.
it earlier today to a coaching client. We're throwing the pin on the weightlifting machine. We're dropping it right to the bottom.
Yeah.
You're going to the real heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But from heaviness to lightness, this is such an opportunity to pivot and pop.
Yeah.
And we can do that as an entire species, as the human organism. We can go from one state to another state because the unknown doesn't mean that we have to go to darkness. We can choose what direction. We're light enough to pivot wherever we want to go from this. And I think as you're talking about getting a PhD in spirituality, we are addicted, and we talked about this, I think, last time, to dopamine rushes, to getting the latest, greatest hit. And that hit certainly can be a hit of negativity of watching the news. However, I'm convinced that while the news is really driving people down through the floor, if you watch too much of it, at some point you will actually go to the bathroom, vomit, and shut it off.
Well,
Because you will go, I can't learn anything from this anymore. And then you're set free.
yeah, and I think
You
actually
pop.
the other thing I think for people who probably watch this program, I'm assuming for you and for me, is that we're empaths. So we pick up a
Heck yeah.
lot of this stuff. So it's like, how do you release the tension that's not even yours? I've been like shaking and breathing and
I've got my little heart math device here. I've gone back to using this to make sure that I'm in a coherent meditative state. And I finish it and it says, great job. You're in high heart coherence, blah, blah, blah. And I look at my watch, which has a stress meter on it, and it's through the roof because I am picking up, as you are, everybody else's stress right now. And
yeah,
you're right. It's what is your method?
shaking it off. Yeah,
And,
or
and,
like
and I'm
breathing.
throwing it off of myself, going back to the breath, slowing down, putting on gentle music, and really trying to bring myself back
Yeah,
because I can't hold space. I try, maybe I can. For the whole planet, it's really hard. We get to do this together.
yeah,
But you and I and everybody listening is an empath too. That's why we're light workers and light warriors. We're drawn to this energy. It means that we're very sensitive to others. So before I went into the grocery store 2 days ago, the AKA the madhouse, I sat in my car, got myself in a place of love and light, and I said, the best thing that I can do in here is pump out as much love as I can to every single person I see in there. Bring smiles, bring light, bring love, bring smiles, bring light, bring love. The more that I give away at this time, energetically, the more that will come back into me.
I like one of the ideas. I think two different things that engendered, and you talked about this 2 sessions. I think maybe last week is that if you're thinking about what is my inoculation? How am I going to be inoculated? Fear is so pervasive. It's what the ego does. It generates it in like massive amounts, particularly when you're watching news, as you mentioned. And the inoculation for fear is love. So the only way you can get rid of the fear is for the love to be that much greater and bigger. That's your inoculation. And I think as much as we want to know what to do, and we should be prudently doing things that make sense, I think every day doing your inoculation of love, and that may be coming in the form of what you're saying, like shaking it off or brushing it off or doing the heart coherence. I think that is one way in which we show ourselves love. And you may think like, oh, well, I'm just serving myself. But really, actually, when you are taking that love and you're casting it out, you're not only healing yourself, you're healing all the fear around you. So this idea of heal yourself, heal the world, because we're all connected. If you do your work during this time, and you were saying, find earlier in this conversation, find the meaning, and also find out what I would actually add to not only find out the meaning, but find out what little hot spots are coming up. Is it your fear of autonomy and not being able to go out? Okay, what is that about? Tune into that and heal yourself, because when you heal yourself of that fear, you're also healing the world. Or is it a fear of survival? Are my loved ones and I going to live? Are we going to die? What's happening with the food? Are we going to starve? Like, okay, feel yourself with love, and that may be like there's 100 techniques out there that I'm sure you offered in your last session that people can look at as different techniques to clear the fear, so you can, because what happens with fear is that it's like a toxic tank. It just keeps on layering one layer and another layer and another layer, and then it gets like, then the trash compactor comes to add more room, and then you have really dense packed fear, right? And then you have to come at it with like a hacksaw. So if you can just get at this fear before it gets compressed, and just every day do something to release and discharge the tension, to give yourself love. Maybe it's watching a funny movie. It's basically, you could watch your 7 days, I assume, of everything that you had last week and do some
Yeah,
technique.
and we did tapping and tapping and tapping, EFT tapping. Peel away a layer, peel away another layer, peel away another layer, get lighter still, get some more dumped on you. That's all right. Peel
Peel it off.
away and get lighter still. Yes.
Yes, and that's how you're helping the world. I mean, you may be like, what am I doing to volunteer? I can't go out and help, deliver groceries or help people who are in need or donate blood, because I just am not in that place. But what you can do is volunteer your time to heal yourself, which then heals the world.
And it's not a closed, well, maybe it is a closed system. There are different ways of looking at it. But the idea of we live in a field, we're swimming in this soup of energy. That's just a reality. There's so much science behind it. We are all broadcasting. Heck, you can get an EEG, you can get an EKG. We all have magnetic fields. We all, with the known science, we're broadcasting out into the field. So right now we're swimming in a soup of fear. However, as an individual, we can go into our individual caves right now,
Of fear,
and
whatever they may be, yeah.
well, or cave. I'm going to call the cave home,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
instead of just a cave of fear.
okay.
So it can be a cave of fear. It can also be a cave of love. But in that fear, we can pump right back into the system. And if we individually work on ourselves, that's why the boot camp next week is on rewiring for positivity. It's the most selfish thing in the world. If I can get you into a more positive place, that literally shifts humanity. If a whole bunch of us come together, we are these massive dominoes for humanity. So, like you're saying, if you think I'm being selfish by just working on me, there's nothing more selfless than you can do than work on yourself, because we had been given homework. Well, I am a coach. If I was to coach everybody on the show today, I would give you two assignments. One is the doingness. How can I serve externally? Is there anything I can do? Secondly, is the beingness. How can I get you to be an intronaut and dive in on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
ferret things out, and really take your vibration to the max? Because that is going to have as big of a difference on anything we do on the outer world. Bring it back to what you said right in the beginning, as above, so below. As we fix things on the other side of the veil, on the spiritual level, quite literally, we shift our energetic state, and that changes the entire environment. And you go, yeah, but what if somebody might get sick or is going to get sick? Well, the biggest virus is stress and fear. If you knock that virus down, we have a much better chance of handling the coronavirus.
Yes, I love it, and I completely agree with everything you said. I want to ask you one question though,
Yes.
because this is what I've been noticing, and I'm personally negotiating this, and wondering if you've encountered this during your 7 days last week. Is that one thing that I've noticed is that people have a different predisposition towards fear. And literally, I administer this personality test called the predictive index, and there are people who are risk tolerant and people who are risk averse, and I'm literally straight on the middle. And what's happening in our family is like my husband is risk averse. I'm in the middle, and my son is risk tolerant. And so I see like this wide range of expression of how and behaviors if you assume a certain amount of risk. And I've been trying to develop my point of view on this because on one hand, there are people who these you see these pictures of young folks who are could get the coronavirus and probably be okay, but at the same time they're risking the elderly who, if they seem to go visit their grandma or they go to the grocery store and some 6-year-old picks up that same carton of whatever, they've already exposed some innocent elderly person because they wanted to go out and like hang out with their friends,
Yeah.
and so and then I've seen this kind of risk. I can see the challenges of this risk tolerance. Also, what happens is that the if we don't flatten the curve, then we don't have the hospital supplies. Everyone has heard that.
Right.
Not enough respirators. But also, one of the things that I read in an economic report is that if we can't flatten the curve, we can't go into work. If we can't go into work, then, small businesses, large businesses, unless we get the stimulus package, are going to have to lay off people, and the unemployment rate is going to move from 3 to 23%. And so, like, in this whole risk tolerant, like you're actually impacting more than just like you going out and getting some sunshine
Yeah.
on the beach. At the same time, I have, and I don't really know what to make out of this. I'm kind of okay. I understand this part, the risk tolerant, and being too risk tolerant can actually harm others. And you don't want to harm yourself too, like where you're maybe going crazy because you're staying inside all the time. And then there's the risk averse where people are taking their mail and they're actually exposed, not even allowing the mail in the house. They're washing off every plastic object that comes in the house because someone can touch the plastic, and plastic germs can live on plastic for, I think, 7 days, on cardboard for like a couple of hours. So, like, what to do with your Amazon packages and Instacart things coming in. And I don't know where you have landed or what folks have expressed in terms of how they manage that risk, this continuum of risk, and where they've landed and how they've rationalized it in their head.
I'll give you where I'm at. That's the
Yeah.
best I can do. Is
Okay.
and what is right for me is not necessarily right for anybody else. First off, I don't get a cold. You may see an occasional running nose because I had sinus surgery 20 years ago,
Right.
but I don't get a cold. I don't get the flu. None of that happens with me. I'm very, very lucky. I think because of my diet, because of the work I do, I have been blessed with a very strong immune system. And so I would encourage everybody to work on, we are attracted to the food at the level we're resonating at. Don't go buy the junk food out of fear right now. let's load up on veggies and fruit at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put all the highest energy goodness as we can into ourselves, physically, emotionally. Maybe that's guided meditations, maybe it's doing our boot camp, but pump that up as much as you can. So we're doing that piece as well. And with that said, I still don't desire to get sick. It's a real deal. I don't feel like doing that dance if I don't have to. So we check our mail after Sunday. We let it sit for a couple days in there. We bring it in. We might let it sit for another day. We don't go
Is it
scrubbing anything
outside?
down. It's outside mailbox, so we don't worry about it.
Ah, okay.
Amazon package comes to the door. We leave it for an extra day. All right. Then we open it up. It's no rush to anything right now. I'm the shopper. I will go out when the stores first open, spray or wipe down the cart if I can, wear my gloves, go back to the car, wipe down the door handle. I'm not going to wipe down all the groceries. I'm not going to put that much fear into it. Not
Right.
that it's wrong for anybody else.
Right.
My sister has lupus
Mm.
and she scrubs and wipes everything and doesn't go out. I totally get it. That's what I would be doing too. Our parents, Jessica's parents, are doing better, finally starting to listen. My parents, still a bit of wild child. My mom last week, she's like, I played mahjong, but I played outside. And then I realized, but wait, aren't we touching the same
Wait,
tiles?
how did she? Who was she playing with? That she was playing with other people?
Yes, her senior friends down in Florida.
Oh, mom.
And I tried, and they're having new windows put in this coming week, and so they're having the repair people come into the house, and they won't even go there. They won't even let me have that discussion, and so all I can do is love them. It was really tearing Jessica apart with her parents last week. They're doing better, so she can breathe easier, and there's a closer connection. She's calling every day, so we will go outside and play anytime we want, but not with others, just with the two of us. We'll go drive and go take hikes. We'll do as much as we can. I am Mr. Wim Hofi kind of guy, so I'm out even in the cold with shirt off, getting as much vitamin D in my shorts as I can into me, which I truly believe boosts the immune system. But we won't hang with anybody during this time. Even before they did the full shutdown, we were following what's going on in the other parts of the world, and so we protocoled on up.
Yeah.
But we won't go. We're taking kind of that middle road. Um, we had lengthy discussions, and for Jessica's peace of mind, a week or two ago, she had a cleaning woman come in and clean our house, which for her de-stressed her massively. We won't be doing it again. We had lengthy discussions. My risk aversion said, no, let's not do that. Her stress aversion said, please let me do this.
Mm.
It's all where we balance things. But now, since then, and this is a valley that has suppressed the truth, since that time, look, no testing in the valley. Since that time,
Oh.
um, 17 bus drivers have gotten sick. They're saying presuming
Mm.
COVID because they don't actually test,
Right.
and which means that at least half of the valley probably has it. That's my own
Wow.
maybe gross exaggeration, but
Well, the bus
at least
driver's
half the valley
driving around
travels
people.
with buses.
Oh my
So we're taking
God.
a middle road, but we're getting out. And that's the one thing. I guess it was three things for people: knock your stress down, eat as great as you possibly can, and get out, get out, get out. When they say shelter in place, they don't mean don't go to nature. Don't hang with other friends in nature. Get out by yourself. Get out by somebody who's locked up in the same apartment that you are. But if you want to boost your immune system, get outside rather than breathing that same stale air day in, day out right now.
Yeah, so and what we've done in our household is that because we have a difference in risk propensity, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like I just want to get this so I can get it over with. And like, because I
I
make
said
it,
that to Jessica on day number one, and she said, take that back. Let's actually go to a level of you don't need to get this. And I was
okay.
like, okay, that's even better. I'll go with that one. But if you want to work in a nursing facility, if you want to go help people in a hospital or something, if you want to deliver goods, then it is good to get it over with, get it out of the way, get the
No, but
antibodies.
when I thought I was sick, and I still even don't know if I was sick as of Monday to Wednesday, because I don't really know had all the symptoms. I was asleep for basically 3 days straight. Like, I don't know, I've never had a flu like that before where I was just like knocked out of commission. And I didn't get tested because I figured that I wanted to have reserve the test because at that time the tests were much more restrained in Washington State, and I thought I can go without the test. But if I were to do it all over again, I would have gotten the test, so I would have known definitively. Even though when my son got the test, it was inconclusive. I mean, it was like you don't have it, but that doesn't mean you didn't have it. You know, it's like, but I wish when I was in the heat of the sickness, I had actually gone on and gotten the test. But I think that how we've managed it is my husband's like, let's actually wash every, thing of orange juice and milk that comes into the house. And like, we should wash the Amazon packages. We should, and I was like, I don't, okay. I'm going to do what you need to do to feel safe
Yeah.
because that's what you're not feeling safe unless these things are adhered to, and I'm willing to follow them, but I just want you to know if I were left to my own devices, I wouldn't be doing any of this.
Yeah.
I mean, even the like putting the packages in a different place for a day, like maybe, but probably not even doing that either. And so it's just like managing these two risk profiles. And I think the only other thing that I hadn't been doing that you're doing is eating very healthy. I've been like feeling like stress eating, which I think if you do, even with all the stress removing I'm doing, there's still that kind of stress eating. So I like your
Yeah.
idea of eating healthy. The other thing that I've been doing is taking the tip that you gave me before, and I've been eating a ton of like there are these My Community mushrooms where they're immunity
Cool.
boosters. And then I guess there's also, you want to actually make sure that you have a healthy gut. So there's things to build the probiotics in your butt. If you aren't butt, gut, and then
We're
eventually
we're
butt.
doing the prebiotics or the probiotics and the microgreens and Remag from Dr. Carolyn Dean for magnesium, Remite for minerals. We're also doing colloidal silver. We're doing extra C. We'd be doing zinc if zinc was available. We got some colloidal liposomal C on the way. So we're doing all this goodness. And then I've been really watching,
Yes.
am I eating for me? And so I found many days, particularly a couple weeks ago,
Mm,
that my eating was starting to go out of control. And I'm going, no matter how much I eat, I'm not satiated right now. Give me more until I realized I'm trying to eat for the fear that we're all experiencing right
and
now.
that's
Because
exactly
we,
what I was doing too. Isn't that interesting? I guess it's a coping mechanism.
well, it's a coping mechanism. And if the world is ending, first off, we're craving sugar so we can bolt fast, and we're craving fats and salts so that we can put on as much fat as we can. So if there's no food tomorrow, we're going to survive. So it's a survival of the species mechanism. And so I had to find what diffuses the bombs. For me, if I have a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, that'll stop me from wanting a lot of food. It was citrus at the
It
beginning that
will
would
stop
stop
you
me
from wanting
literally.
anything.
Well, no, you eat what you eat, and it's actually I did the microbiome test a few months back, and that's considered a superfood. That actually helps my gut by having apple
Okay,
cider
so you have
vinegar.
apple. It's like a
Just a
tablespoon of,
teaspoon. You can go
and
with a
then
tablespoon.
it almost
It
seems like
stops
a
your appetite.
punishment. It's like
No,
it
no, it's not that
punishes you.
bad, but it stops my appetite. Find
Really?
what is your kryptonite for your appetite. What will shut it down cold?
Okay, I'm going to
We
try
all
apple
have
cider
something that
vinegar
if
and
we
see.
eat it, our appetite goes away because what happens is we start to get all these mechanisms going on in our microbiome. And as we're eating for others, then all of a sudden, the more we eat, the hungrier we get. The more we eat, the hungrier we get. And there's no stopping it right now.
Mm,
And so we need to find what is a pattern or interrupt for each of us. Used to be, you could just, for me, I'd just brush my teeth and that would signal I'm done eating. But
mm.
that stopped working. And then it was have some citrus and that stopped working. So I'm being hyper aware or vigilant of what I'm eating, not being neurotic about it. Have some food, go for it. But pay attention to, am I still hungry? Should I still be hungry right now? Or am I going into the ravenous pack on the pound zone to protect myself?
That is so insightful because I think I've been doing exactly the same thing. I'm like, I don't understand. I feel like this is normally what I would eat and be fine. but I'm actually still hungry and I can't figure out
Yes.
what's going on. Oh my God, that totally makes sense biologically. Totally makes sense. Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm going to
Kind of
try
the
those.
reverse. I'm going to say something that's funny for the reverse, and I can't believe I'm going to go there. But wow, what the heck? Somebody said on our YouTube live event last night, and come join us on YouTube live. We have all
Yeah.
these fun free group events and live events, and last night somebody said that 9 months from now there's going to be a huge baby boom, and I said I don't actually believe that because with a massive stress response, your first response is not to procreate.
Yeah.
It's to fight, flight, or freeze. I said, once things come under control before they let us back out, now you look at nighttime for 9 months later. But right now, biologically, is not the time we want to procreate.
Yeah, it's biological. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go.
And
I love
moving
that.
from there, let's talk about the turtle leg before I'm good on my end and see if
Okay,
there's
good.
anything on
Yeah,
your
you
end.
didn't talk about Sir Mausers though. And
Oh,
Sir
well,
Turtle.
Sir
Okay.
Meowsers, we have an amazing video. If you go to inspirenationuniversity.com for our positivity boot camp, you will find a video of Sir Meowsers blasting off. He was in me in this really, really fun video, just putty in my arms. We've given him so much love. And we made this amazing video on our positivity boot camp coming up. And he was game. And it was really, really cool. And it was
Okay.
truly one of the highlights of our week. A low light was last night before the YouTube Live, setting up this microphone, which has admittedly a very teeter-totter stand. We're like the rest of the world in kind of a buying freeze right now. We want to
Yeah.
see what goes on.
Yeah.
But I will be getting a microphone stand. Jessica had bought me some fetishes. I've got here a mountain lion stone fetish that she got me in
Oh,
Sedona,
cute.
and she got me a bear fetish, and she got me a little turtle fetish, which I put out to hold space for my talks.
Hmm.
And the microphone stand went right down and broke the leg right off of the turtle fetish.
Fascinating. That's the one that
And
you
she,
said you got the message. Yeah.
and she goes, "Did you get that message loud and clear? Nothing happens by accident, as you say." And it was universe saying, even though I'm doing a lot of doing right now, and I feel like I'm centering a lot, that I get to surf this energy now even more that I'm challenging my clients to do of beingness. So I say right now, at least stateside, the energy is what I'm calling a freaky tiki Christmas. It's Christmas because you feel like you don't want to work right now because nobody else feels like they're working either.
Right.
Things are shut down. We want to surf that energy and draw inwards. Freaky tiki because at least stateside everybody is in a state of panic.
Right.
However, we can't feed into that panic by going into do, even though we're airing daily and we're throttling back next week and we're going to throttle back more and throttle back more. That was a good initial push. But we, Jessica, myself, particularly myself, have to respect that energy and slow down more and slow down more. And so I literally want to see if I can be like the tortoise. So it's a shame that he had to take the hit on his foot or his leg to give me the
Thank you,
message.
dear tortoise, for
And,
delivering the
and
message.
we're still looking for where his foot leg flew off in the living area. We will find it and glue it back. But I figure at that point, I'm going to love him up even more. He just matches me with my titanium leg.
Well, you know what? I think that one of the going back to the freeze, fight, or fight. Um,
Fight, flight, or
Fight, fight,
freeze
fight,
is the
fight,
way
fight,
it's
fight.
easiest.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, the other one is befriend. And I've noticed that I actually had the same impulse that you had, which is like, okay, I'm gonna like produce 1,000 videos. And so I like been producing, and I kind of got to the point today. I'm like, and no more videos, like, because it's just it's kind of stressful to create all those videos. I mean, I know it's in the interest of helping other people, but it's a balance, like you were saying. So I do think if you are kind of like, I need to go out and like help everyone, I think that that's a beautiful impulse. And I actually would check if it is an impulse. Is it something that is you're doing as a coping mechanism for the fear? Or is, and I know that And even if it is, it's okay because you're giving love, but like give love to yourself too.
Absolutely. And it is a balance. So I realize there are those of us, and you and I want to serve in every way we can. There are those of us who want to serve and go out into the world, whether it's video, whether it's literal, and we are in that doing mode right now. And particularly if you're a healthcare worker, if you're a grocery store employee, if you're somebody who is serving the community right now, we need you in a sense in do mode. But for the rest of us, it is a time to be more. And even if you're in do mode, you're going to need a lot of be time afterwards. You are the heroes. You're going to need tremendous be time
Exactly.
to push through doingness in a time of beingness
Hmm.
really jams the gears. And so you have to respect, even if you feel stuck, even if you're in a panic of, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills this month. It is a time to step back and go, if we're all in this position together, something will happen. I will let go and it will work itself out. But getting myself into a frothing frenzy of trying to do and watching the news after a certain point is trying to do. You are trying to wrestle the world into submission by reading as much as you can, but it has limited, if no effect, versus the doingness of dropping into the stillness of the Zen koan is so important right now. If you don't have time to meditate, meditate twice as long.
Hmm.
If you're feeling spun out right now and you don't know what to do, sit and don't do twice as long.
And I would only add to that, that would say if you need to, and sometimes the doing is shaking off. It's not
Absolutely.
about being in stillness. So tune into your intuition and see what's needed because sometimes it's about, if you have ants in your pants and anxiety and you've picked up stuff, it's about shaking it off.
Well,
And
if it
then,
was CJ who having too much energy, you might shake things off. But if you were in my household, I'd kick you out of the house and say, go for a walk. Because that is your way. That is my way too, is getting that
yeah,
movement, getting outside, and literally use that fuel as positive energy to get moving.
yeah, yeah. I just went for a run before this interview, so I totally get it.
Bingo. That's so what I'm saying.
Exactly. Love it. Perfect concluding words. I love it.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler, and
CJ Liu from the Fired Up with CJ show. We feel you
thank.
guys.
Oh man, we love you. We love you. We love you. Call up everybody you know, not just on the phone. Do it with Zoom, do it with Skype, do it with FaceTime. Connect with people, send love to everyone you can, particularly if you feel you have none right now. The more you give it away, the more it will fill your tank. And then love yourself up in the midst of this more than you've ever done before because your ego is saying, your ego was always trying to take control. And so your ego is saying, what have I done wrong? Where have I screwed up? Where have I goofed that I'm in this situation where I might lose what I have? I might get sick. I might this, I might that, or I may literally be in the midst of it. You did nothing wrong. This is global. This is all of us in this together, and we are all going to get through this together and then join a community, whether it's our boot camp this coming week or any other community. Find family, or what we call in Hawaiian ohana. Find your ohana online and hold on to that for the lifeline that it is, because shelter in place and social distancing does not mean coming apart, but it means coming together.
Love it.
And
Woohoo!
shine bright. Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.